Italian football is in chaos. Not the entertaining kind. Not supporters setting off flares or a manager screaming on the touchline. This is deeper. This is an entire football system losing control. Italy, the four-time champions of the world, have failed to qualify for the World Cup for the third consecutive time. Think about that. The country of Maldini, Baggio, Buffon, Totti, Cannavaro, Del Piero, and Pirlo has missed 3 World Cups in a row. The last time Italy played in one, Mario Balotelli was their striker, Andrea Pirlo was still controlling midfield, and TikTok did not even exist. Then the resignations began. Federation President Gabriele Gravina stepped down. Gianluigi Buffon resigned as head of delegation. Gennaro Gattuso left as coach. Paolo Maldini and Leonardo arrived to rebuild everything. 16 days later, they were gone too. And somehow, Italy lost a president, a delegation chief, a coach, a technical director, an advisor, and a possible new coach. Without improving a single player, the search for a coach began with ambition. Or fantasy, depending on how polite you want to be. Pep Guardiola was reportedly the dream. Carlo Ancelotti's name entered the conversation. Apparently, when your football system collapses, you simply telephone the 2 most famous coaches on earth and hope one becomes emotional after hearing the Italian anthem. When that failed, Italy turned to Andrea Pirlo. Pirlo was a magnificent player. He saw passes nobody else could imagine. But great player does not automatically mean great coach. Juventus dismissed him after 1 season. Sampdoria dismissed him in Serie B. When Italy approached him, he was coaching in the 2nd division of the United Arab Emirates. Then came Fonbet. Pirlo had a commercial relationship with the major Russian betting company. His possible appointment triggered political and public criticism. Pirlo said the agreement was legal, carried no political message, and should not determine his suitability. This was not a match-fixing accusation. It was a controversy about judgment, image, and representation. The federation backed away. Pirlo was no longer the candidate. Maldini and Leonardo, who had supported him, resigned after 16 days. Some people do not finish a free trial in 16 days. Italy could not finish a rebuild. That is what makes this collapse remarkable. Italy were never just another successful country. For most of football history, they were a permanent power. They won consecutive World Cups in 1934 and 1938. They conquered the world again in 1982, defeating a legendary Brazil side along the way. In 2006, surrounded by scandal at home, Italy travelled to Germany and lifted their 4th World Cup. Only Brazil have won more. Italy also became European champions in 1968 and again at Wembley in 2021. Their identity was unmistakable: intelligence, discipline, patience, and ruthless tournament management. Italy produced artists like Roberto Baggio and Francesco Totti. Del Piero could create a goal from nothing. Pirlo could control an entire match without appearing to move faster than a man searching for his restaurant table. Behind them stood defenders who treated the penalty area like private property: Baresi, Maldini, Nesta, Cannavaro, Chiellini, and Bonucci. Behind those defenders were Dino Zoff and Gianluigi Buffon. Italy did not simply produce players. It produced specialists, masters who understood details everybody else noticed only after the match was already lost. Italian football was powerful because it knew exactly what it wanted to be. Now, I should be honest. I have never been the biggest fan of Italian football. I respect it. I understand why it worked. But love it? No. There is only so much joy I can find in watching 10 men defend a 1-goal lead as if attacking twice would violate the Italian constitution. Italian football could transform a beautiful, simple game into a 90-minute legal dispute. Every foul became a negotiation. Every throw-in became theatre. Every lead had to be protected like a national treasure. And Italians gave it an elegant name. They did not say, "We are defending for our lives and wasting time." They called it tactical intelligence. Still, it worked. Italy understood tournament football better than almost anybody. History does not remember which team had more possession. It remembers who lifted the trophy. That made Italy unbearable when they were winning. It also made the decline easy to ignore. Whenever somebody questioned the system, Italy could point to the 4 stars above the badge and say, "We know football." The problem was that Europe kept moving. Italy kept pointing at the stars. There was a time when Serie A was the center of the football universe. In the late 80s and the 90s, Italy had the money, glamour, coaches, and greatest players on earth. Maradona became a god in Naples. Gullit, Van Basten, and Rijkaard transformed Milan. Inter had Matthäus, Bremer, and Klinsmann. Juventus had Baggio and later Zidane. Even clubs outside the traditional giants were terrifying. Parma could field Buffon, Cannavaro, Thuram, Veron, and Crespo. That was Parma. In 1990, Italian clubs won all 3 major European competitions. By 1995, Parma's triumph had given Italy a 6th UEFA Cup in 7 seasons. Serie A was not a retirement league. It was where the best players went in their prime. It was the final exam. You needed technique to survive, intelligence to find space, and courage to face defenders who considered your continued possession of the ball a personal insult. The stadiums had noise, smoke, banners, and tension. The kits became classics. Matches felt important before they began. Italian football did not need to explain why it mattered. Everybody knew. Then the most powerful league in the world slowly began living on memories of itself. The warning signs were already there. In 2006, Calciopoli exposed improper influence surrounding referee appointments. Juventus were relegated and stripped of titles. Executives resigned. Trust in the league was shattered. And yet, in the middle of the scandal, Italy won the World Cup. That created the perfect myth. Italy could be surrounded by dysfunction and still win. But winning can teach a dangerous lesson. It can convince people that nothing needs to change. The World Cup celebration covered the deeper problems. Old, municipally owned stadiums kept aging. New projects became trapped between clubs, councils, and bureaucracy. England turned football into a global entertainment machine. Germany invested in infrastructure. Spain trusted technically gifted young players. Italy admired the 90s. Clubs could no longer match the Premier League's money. Many chased short-term solutions: an older player, a famous coach, another complicated transfer. The league that once signed the world's greatest players began shopping for affordable veterans. There is nothing wrong with experience. But when a system becomes afraid of youth, afraid of risk, and addicted to yesterday's names, experience becomes another word for stagnation. Italy survived the scandal. It did not escape the mentality behind it. The youth problem explains more than any coach ever could. Italy still develops talented teenagers. Its youth teams compete for trophies. The problem begins when those players approach senior football. The FIGC's own report said players ineligible for Italy received 67.9% of Serie A minutes. That is not an attack on foreign players. Serie A's golden age was built with international superstars. The issue is opportunity. Young Italians are praised as the future, sent on loan, placed on a bench, sent on another loan, and then criticized for lacking experience. Italy won the 2023 Under-19 European Championship, but compared with the Spanish players from the same tournament, those Italians later accumulated roughly half as many top-flight league minutes and about 1/6 as many European minutes. Spain develops young players and plays them. Italy develops young players and protects them from football. Then qualification begins, and the national team has the same missing pieces: no reliable scorer, too little creativity, and too few players experienced at the highest level. Everybody acts surprised. This is not bad luck. This is a production line delivering exactly what it was designed to deliver. The results exposed everything. Italy failed to reach the 2018 World Cup after losing a playoff to Sweden. That should have been the emergency. Then Roberto Mancini created something unexpected. Italy pressed, passed, and attacked with courage. They won Euro 2020 at Wembley. For one glorious summer, the old power appeared to be back. There was hope. Real hope. But the trophy was an interruption, not a repair. Only months later, Italy lost a World Cup playoff semi-final to North Macedonia. No Qatar. Then came the campaign for 2026. Another playoff, another failure, this time against Bosnia. No World Cup again. Italy became the first former world champion to miss 3 consecutive editions. And the 2026 tournament had expanded to 48 teams. 48. Almost half the football world received an invitation, and Italy still remained outside. At some point, blaming one penalty becomes dishonest. Blaming one coach becomes childish. One failure can be an accident. 2 failures are a crisis. 3 failures are a system introducing itself. After the 3rd failure, Italy finally had a chance to begin again. Gravina resigned. Buffon accepted responsibility. Gattuso left. Maldini arrived as technical director with Leonardo. Maldini represented more than celebrity. He represented standards. A captain, defender, leader, and executive who understood elite football. For a moment, supporters could believe the federation had given football people the power to change football. Then came the coach search, then Pirlo, then Fombet, political pressure, and confusion over who actually had authority. Then Maldini and Leonardo resigned. 16 days. The depressing part is not simply that Pirlo was rejected. Reasonable people can debate his experience and his commercial role. The depressing part is that Italy created a leadership structure without deciding who was allowed to lead. It promised change, introduced famous names, and collapsed at the first difficult decision. The faces were new. The dysfunction was identical. That is modern Italian football, always searching for a legendary figure to rescue a system that refuses to rescue itself. Italian football is not dead. Serie A remains tactically interesting. Italy still produces great coaches. Inter have returned to major European finals, and Atalanta proved that intelligent recruitment and brave football can build something modern. The talent has not disappeared. The ecosystem around it has fallen behind. The stadiums are old, bureaucracy is slow, clubs cannot consistently match England's money. Young Italians do not receive enough meaningful minutes. The federation answers structural failure with another legendary surname. Most of all, Italy behaves as if history should qualify the team automatically. But history is not a development plan. 4 World Cups do not produce the next centre-forward. Maldini's reputation cannot repair a federation that refuses to define his authority. Pirlo's elegance cannot replace coaching experience. and Catenaccio is not a strategy for the next generation. Even for somebody like me, who never loved the Italian style, there is something sad about this decline. The blue shirts, the anthem, the defenders, the gestures, the certainty that Italy would somehow survive. Italian football once felt eternal. It once turned chaos into championships. Now it turns rebuilds into resignations. Maybe this humiliation will finally create change. Maybe young players will receive trust instead of speeches. Or maybe Italy will find another legend, announce another project, promise another rebirth, and wait for history to save it.